Welcome to Southern Maryland Perspectives. My name is Brad Godfried, and I'm the president of the College of Southern Maryland. This is a talk show that features timely topics and guests from around the region. Today we're talking about libraries and how important libraries are, how they've evolved, and where they may be going in the future. And with me today is Janet Salazar, longtime employee of the Charles County Library, but now she is executive director, and as such, in a leadership role, really has a good sense of what's happening right now and what might be happening in the future. So, Janet, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being a guest on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Okay, so start off with the same question, probably the toughest question I'm going to ask you. Could you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Oh, that is a tough question.
Yeah.
Well, I am Janet Salazar. I have been with Charles County Public Libraries for about 19 years. Mm-hmm. I've always been a longtime supporter of public libraries my entire life, so it's great for me to actually work in an industry where I have a lot of personal ties. Mm-hmm. And I have been in Charles County since 1992, so I've been in the area, but I'm not a native, and I understand that, in order to be considered a native, it has to be at least 60 years. So I think it's going to be a while before
So where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Traverse City, Michigan.
Ah, okay. So this kind of weather is balmy compared to what you're used to.
Well, what I was used to 20 years ago. Now I'm pretty used to this climate, so today's kind of cold, so...
Now, were you always interested in being a librarian, working in a library?
Funnily enough, that's probably not even a word, but no, I did not think I was going to be a librarian. When I was in high school, you know how you take those little tests that tell you what you're supposed to be good at? Mm-hmm. And I took one, and one of the top 3 things said librarians, and I started laughing at my friends going, oh my gosh, people are going to think I'm a librarian. And I just started laughing. And then lo and behold, like 10 years out of high school, I got a library job, and it was the perfect fit. So I knew as soon as I started in public libraries, that's where I was meant to be.
But it's interesting, the stereotypes, isn't it? You know, certain careers, you just never think you're going to go into that position, and then you get into it, and it's like, wow, I love this.
Yes, and I think public librarianship is one of those. So many people I have met did not start out being librarians. They started out in something else, and then I think public libraries are unique in this because you get to help such a variety of people.
Yes.
And it really is like you're helping people. It's not just giving them information, but you're helping them find something. You're helping them move to the next level. So I think a lot of people think it's going to be like really quiet and just reading books, but it's really helping people at all levels.
But it raises a very good point, Janet, because oftentimes I think about different skill sets. Because a stereotype of a librarian is someone who's very bookish, and they just want to do their thing. But as you mentioned, there's the customer service. There's the relationship that you need to forge with the customers, and sometimes I would think the two may collide. Do you find that sometimes you'll have someone who gets into library science, but they like shelving books, but they're really not interested as much in interacting with the public? Is that a problem that sometimes happens?
I think we still get people like that. I think people start out in libraries thinking that's the way it's going to be, and then quickly realize that it's not. But the great thing about librarianship overall is that there are several different types of it. So if you are that kind of person, you can go into archives or someplace like that where you're not doing so much direct customer. But in public libraries, it really is all about the customer service and building the relationships and being out there and helping people. It's not a lot of reading and just putting the books away. That's important because people need to find those books, but it's not the biggest thing that we're doing. The biggest thing we're doing is building the relationship with our community and becoming that trusted source of information for them.
Yes. Now, obviously, we have 3 very strong library systems in Southern Maryland.
Yes, we do.
But we're talking about Charles now. About how many how many libraries are there, first of all, in Charles?
In Charles County, we have 4 branches. We have 2 in Waldorf, 1 in Bryan's Road, Indian Head area, and 1 in La Plata.
And how many employees are there?
We have roughly about 80 people.
Oh, that many?
Yeah, it's getting big.
So what's the trend? I mean, so often there's automation, there's the thought, maybe fewer books, more electronic. Is that trend level? Are you finding that you have fewer employees, more employees? What's the trend line in terms of librarians?
We in Charles County have kind of been a little flat in actually adding folks. We're trying to get a few more employees because even though we're doing things like self-checkout, which doesn't really take a staff member to help you with, we're finding that, yeah, people are doing self-checkout, but they need more help on the computer, or they need help in the meeting room, or they need help in other areas. So even though we may be doing less of what people traditionally call library work, checking people in and out, we're doing a lot more of helping you find what you need, and it's more personalized. So honestly, I think we're going to see more people in the library, but they're going to be doing different things.
Well, it's interesting. Heather's been helping me as I do the technical aspect of the show. And she was mentioning, as Janet was sitting down, how when her son was much younger, there was a lot of use of computers and technology, and probably at a time when fewer people had computers in their home. Do you still find that you have as many individuals coming to use the computers, or do you find that that's less of a need as maybe 10 years ago?
I think it's still a need. There's always going to be those that have and those that have not. And the public library is there to connect those people who don't really have it and need it. But what we're finding is, some people are coming in and using the library computers, but some people are bringing in their personal devices and just need a place to plug in and just a place to connect. And really, I see public libraries everywhere as connectors. That's what we do. We connect people to what they need, whether it be information or just the technology, whatever it is. We're kind of there either to guide them to where they need to be or to actually help them connect right there in the library.
Now you have a brand new library. Well, it's not so new, but within the last 3 to 5 years?
2012 is when it opened.
Waldorf West. Now, did that replace a library, or is that a brand new branch?
That was a brand new branch. It didn't replace anything. So we knew that there was a need for another library in Charles County, especially on that side of 301. So it was really nice to be able to put this in a great spot, and it's so well used.
Yes. Oh, yes. Now, I've been to the relatively new main branch in Prince Frederick.
Oh, that's a nice library.
It really is. And I know that I've been to the Lexington Park Library, which is fairly new, but I know they're getting a new library in in Leonardtown.
Yeah.
But if you think about Waldorf West, for instance, that opened in 2012, and you compare it with the La Plata branch, what was that, from the 60s?
1967.
How are the physical spaces of libraries changing? Are they similar?
Library spaces nowadays have to be more flexible. We have to be able to say, at this point in time, we need this many shelves for books and we need this many spots for people to sit. But next year, we may need fewer shelves for books and more places for people to sit, or we may need more books and less places to sit. So we need to be more flexible in how we design our buildings.
I see.
And then you have to make spaces for people who want to do collaborative work, for people who are maybe wanting to come in and use makerspaces. You have to have all kinds of different, libraries are used for so many different things these days. You really have to be very flexible in how you're making them. So flexibility is really the big word when you're looking at a new library building.
Now, one of the things that they're doing in St. Mary's County that is really exciting is with the new library in Leonardtown that is replacing, as you know, a very, I don't want to call it decrepit. It's old. It's the old armory. But not only are they going to have a brand new library, but they're hooking up next to it or adjacent to it is a senior center.
Right.
And I guess the thinking is that it's not just a physical joining, but also interactions between young people and older people. Is that a concept that is typical or a growing concept in the field?
Yeah, using teens, honestly, to help with a lot of technology things or really just teaching anything. It helps the teens grow in their own personal lives, and it gives them a sense of belonging to the community, and helping people, in my opinion, is probably the best thing we can do as human beings, is help another person. So having not only the teens help the seniors, but have the seniors there kind of as mentors for the teens to say, hey, maybe you want to think about this, or maybe you thought about going to that. And I think that relationship is awesome, and I'm so happy to hear that Leonardtown's going to be doing that.
Yeah. And you're looking to have a new main library.
Yes, we are.
Someday.
Yes, we're hoping. It is on the CIP in Charles County, in the plan for FY 2018 to FY 20 to have like
Okay.
land acquisition and built and construction. So we're really hoping that it will be funded come FY 18 for land acquisition, and we're kind of hoping that we might be able to get a slightly bigger building as well. I mean, the one we have now is about 13,000 square feet, and we've grown a lot since 1967, so we're kind of hoping maybe we can get a bigger building. But we are looking at all different kinds of places, and if you don't mind, can I put a plug in for our online survey?
Please do.
We're in the middle of doing our facilities master plan, and we have just opened up our online survey for citizens to give their opinions about what the service is and what kind of services they would like the library to do. So if people could go to our website and take the survey, that would be awesome, and give us your honest opinions about what you think about the library.
So now, when I think about a quote modern library, I think of so many different services. Let's talk about some of them, because the typical, and this has been from day one, has been checking out books. And that's I guess, is that still going strong? Are you still buying as many books as you used to, physical books?
We are still buying physical books because we're still, even though people want all different kinds of services in a library, they still, when you ask somebody what they think of public libraries, the very first thing they say is books. So books will always be part of the library. That's always going to be our mission. So yes, we are still buying books at about the same rate we have been for the last 10 years. So that really hasn't changed. What's changed is that not only do we have to have the physical books, we have to have all of the virtual stuff that goes with it. So we have the online books and we have the physical books, and trying to balance, how do you pay for all of that.
And I was going to ask, do you have a sense which are being used more? Because someday I'm going to take a class. I'm showing my age now. It used to be I was so good with technology, and now I haven't really played around too much with trying to download books, online virtual books. But do you find that it's about equal use? Does one predominate over the other?
Right now, in Charles County at least, it's about 50-50. It's pretty close. You get those who are just die-hard technology people, and it's all online for them. And then we still have those people who want that physical book, who want to be able to turn those pages and see the pictures and all of that stuff. So right now, it's about even as far as what's being checked out.
Now, in terms of the, and again, I haven't done it. It's on my to-do list, my bucket list, so to speak. But when you go to check out a online book, is there an expiration where after a certain amount of time it just disappears from your device?
That's pretty much what happens. When you check it out, you get it for 3 weeks like you would any book that you check out from the library, and it just, after a while, you just won't have access to it anymore. If your 3 weeks are up and you try to go back to it, it's just going to say, I'm sorry, that's expired.
Interesting.
So because I have actually done that.
So now, how does it work? So let's say there's a very popular novelist, and you came out with a brand new book. Do you buy a certain number of licenses?
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing, and we have a whole committee that orders for the Tri-County area, so that we're all under the same kind of umbrella for our online sources there. And they will say, hey, we have this many people waiting, and so we're going to buy so many copies of the ebook, and then we of course, buy so many copies of the physical book, so you should be able to get it either way. And with Overdrive, which is our platform for online books, if you use their Advantage account, which is what we do, it only goes to people in Southern Maryland, because in the state of Maryland, there's a consortium for Overdrive where everyone puts money in for the ebooks. But if you use the Advantage account, only the people in Southern Maryland will get access to those. So we do a lot of that.
So then, for instance, when you're buying these online or licenses to these online books, is it you don't buy your own for Charles County Library, it's the consortium buys them?
Yes, that's exactly.
And that's a good deal, where you're working closely with the, with the other two.
Yeah, we
systems.
do. We all work very closely together, and our checkout system is one that is shared through all three counties. So it doesn't matter if you live in Charles or Calvert or St. Mary's, whatever library you walk into, you can check out books. So it doesn't really matter.
And that is a wonderful, wonderful asset. I've checked out books from all three county libraries, and it's Nobody discriminates that my
No.
library card is from Charles County.
Nope.
Now,
We're all very good partners.
is there a, excuse me, I don't know if we're doing it here, but I'd read somewhere where books are being automatically renewed.
We are doing it here.
How does that work?
Honestly, if nobody has a hold on the book, if nobody's saying, hey, I want this book as soon as it comes back, the system just will look at your due date and
Okay.
give you a little message saying, hey, your books are due and we're going to renew them for you. And it will do that up to 4 times.
Wow.
And then it will go, hey, you got to bring those back. So
All right, so that's really positive for the consumer, but you must lose some money in terms of overdue fines.
Well, we've probably lost a little bit of money for overdue fines, but we've gained, I think, in customer appreciation is
Oh,
well
yes.
worth it. So I think it's a great service for the customer.
I can definitely agree with you there, because so often I'll go to renew a book and it's, oh, well, you owe $1 or something.
Yeah.
And we're not giving you another book until, and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't even realize it. I'm with Janet Salazar, who's the executive director of the Charles County Public Library. And we're talking about libraries, not just the one in Charles County, actually libraries in general, and specifically those in Southern Maryland. So we talked about, obviously, checking out books, always going to be popular. The e-books, growing popularity, it seems, especially I would think with younger, maybe the millennials, do you find?
Honestly, it goes across
It does.
all ages because there are some people who are my age who are fanatics about the online stuff. In fact,
Okay.
more and more I'm finding that I personally don't pick up the physical book and I will try to get the ebook if I can, simply because you can put like 5 or 6 books on one device and you have
Right.
one thing you're carrying around as opposed to 5
Okay.
different books that you're carrying around, which costs, that's pretty heavy to carry around. So it really does go across all ages.
So I'm just trying to get my arms around the technology. So you download it to your device, and then is it like there's a timer or something where after 3 weeks or something it just says, okay, boom, it's gone?
The software is keeping track of that in the background. So,
Okay.
Yep.
That's fascinating. All right, so those are 2 major services. Obviously, another service is the computers.
Yes.
And but do you find that you have fewer computers than you've had in the past in most of our libraries?
I don't know that I would say we have fewer computers. I would think that really on just about any given day, you will find most of our computers are being used.
Yeah.
But as I've said before, it's a little bit of both. I don't know that we're getting rid of computers. We still have about the same number of computers as we've had the last few years, but we're having more and more people come in with their own devices and needing help with their own devices and trying to figure out, hey, how do I download that book on this device, or how do I do whatever I'm trying to do on this tablet as opposed to a computer, and just that kind of stuff. So
Okay, interesting. I know even though I have access to computers in my home office, I may be between meetings and I'll hop into the library and use one of the computers there, and it is very convenient, without any question. One area that seems to be more prevalent in its use is meeting rooms. I know your new facility has some beautiful meeting rooms, and they're used frequently. I know the Charlotte Hall Library it has one space, but it is constantly being reserved. What's the philosophy there?
the philosophy for meeting rooms is really another service that we can offer our customers. They're there for customer use. I mean, they're first for library use. I mean, we do a lot of our programming in those rooms. But we want people to have a place to meet. And I know that in Charles, and I really can't speak to St. Mary's and Calvert as far as how much meeting room space is available to put in Charles, meeting room space is at a premium. It's really, really hard to find meeting room space. So this is one way for us to help our community find places to have those meetings that they need to have. And for businesses who maybe don't have a physical office to come in and use our meeting room space as their office if they need to do interviews or whatever. So, and I think that's pretty much true in St. Mary's and Calvert, but I don't have the same knowledge of those counties as I do of Charles. So.
Yeah. I definitely know that the one in Charlotte Hall, because it's so central to the other all three counties, it is very, very popular. Now, is this something newer? So I'm thinking, for instance, of the La Plata Library that was built, as you mentioned, in the 60s. Does it have meeting spaces?
Yes, it does.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, meeting rooms and libraries, I think, have gone together
Okay.
hand in hand for quite some time. What I think we're finding more of now is that, as before, there would be a meeting room, and it would be the one room, and that was the meeting room. Whereas now you will see that libraries will have several meeting rooms
Yes.
and meeting room spaces that can be configured in different ways, and small group study rooms, and even just quiet rooms, because libraries are not quiet places anymore. So, if you need that quiet room, there's going to be a space for you to go and shut a door and be quiet. So.
Now, also something that I think is newer, although I guess libraries always did it to a degree, was programming. Whether it's history, whether it's technology, it seems like I know you have programs for nonprofits. Is that use proliferating, or has it always been, educational programming is something that's part of your mission?
It is part of our mission. I mean, libraries are community education spaces. That's our part of our mission, and so programming has always been part of what public libraries.
But is it increasing, or?
I think
the sense I
we're
get.
seeing more of an
Yeah.
increase in public programs than what we used to, and there seems to be more of a community asking us for programs, and us taking a look at our community and going, where is the need and how can we help fill that need? So, we have been working a lot with the nonprofits. We've been trying to help small businesses as much as we can. And of course, we've always done early childhood education. So, we're just trying to help our community learn in whatever way they need to learn.
Yeah. And I know, I guess it's in April. I don't remember the date. I'll be speaking at the main branch in Calvert County, Prince Frederick Library on the Civil War. And I've participated. I gave a presentation on Gettysburg at the one in Charles County. And what I like also is when you have authors who
Yes.
will, they'll come, they'll talk about their books. You can have the general public interacting with the authors. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
So what am I missing? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but are there other activities? Certainly, I know the reference librarians are constantly working with students, for instance, who have a term paper or some project. I would assume in all three libraries that is a major component of what librarians are doing.
Yes, we are. Our reference service is still quite booming. The questions might have changed over the years. I mean, because Google has impacted libraries like it has impacted every other aspect of American life. But we're still getting questions. And I think what I've seen probably more is that we can take more time to answer those questions and to really kind of help and guide you through those things than we used to be able to.
I see.
And I would say another place that you will probably see growth is the whole makerspace movement, where people are making things in the
Yes.
library and making spaces for stuff in the library. And we have a very active teen film club that does filming in the library.
Oh,
And I would like to
neat.
see us move into like even music creation and having like sewing machines available and just things that people maybe can't go out and buy themselves right now, or maybe just want to try out and see if they even like. I think that's kind of a thing a public library could be filling a need for.
Yes. So it sounds like very much connected with the community and always evolving in a way to meet the new needs.
Yep, that's what I've been telling my staff, and I tell everyone who wants to talk to me about public library, is that we're in a period of just like constant transformation, because a library really should reflect its community, and if we're not serving our community, then we're not doing our job.
Now, something we haven't spoken about is something that I do use occasionally and I do value greatly, and it's interlibrary loan. You probably don't get a lot of requests, do you?
Actually, I don't think that really has gone down a whole lot because we're so connected in Maryland. And I will just have to say that Maryland is considered public library heaven out there in the library world. We have very, very well connected Maryland public libraries. So you can be in Charles or St. Mary's and Calvert and see a book up in Baltimore, and it can be sent to you. So
Yes.
I still see a lot of that going on. That really has not changed much at all. So I still think that will be a strong thing, because people,
Yes.
they like to get what they want, and they want it when they want it. And
Right.
so they're going to be requesting these things. And it's great that we're allowed and can all work together so well and provide that for our customers.
One other aspect, actually there are lots of things we can talk about, we are starting to run out of time, however, Janet, is the whole issue of the electronic databases,
Yes.
where it used to be that everything was in the library. And now someone who comes in has access. In fact, they can do it online as well to access what are some is it EBSCO?
Mm-hmm.
And a number of others.
That is, I think, probably one of the greatest things about public libraries is that you don't actually have to come to the physical library to take part in our services, because we do have so many great online databases and online services that you could be in a completely different state. And if you have one of our library cards, all you have to do is go in and log in, and you can have access to all of our great virtual resources. So we do have a whole EBSCO suite. We have all kinds of things in there. We have, you can figure out how to fix your car. You can look at our newspaper databases. There's just a ton of stuff in there. And I just have to do a plug. We have lynda.com and all 3 Southern Maryland counties in our libraries. So if you're really into lynda.com and learning new skills, you can do that right from your home with your library card.
What is that?
Lynda.com is a series of different small snippets of different things you can learn, like Microsoft Office or project management. I mean, they just have all kinds of different courses, and you can do it right from your house.
And it's
online.
called lynda.com.
Lynda.com, and it's one of our databases. So if you go to any of the 3 counties, if you go to their public library websites, you will find lynda.com and can do that from your house. So.
That's the reason I host this show, because on every single show I learn something new. This is fascinating. The whole show is fascinating, actually. All right, we're running out of time. Future. What do you see as the library? Where do you see the Charles County Library in 10 years, for instance?
I see a thriving, vibrant public library where people come in and get what it is that they need. Do I know what people are going to need in 10 years? No, I personally do not. But the library will be flexible enough that we will be able to change to meet our community's needs. And I think that's true of all public libraries everywhere.
Now, I'm sure you constantly hear, because we hear it on the college level, why do you need physical spaces anyway? Shouldn't libraries be smaller and fewer of them? Because people can just access all of these materials online. How do you respond to that kind of rhetoric?
I respond to it in this way, that yes, you can actually get all of those things online, but many times what you need is the human part of it, and that is what a physical library will give you, is your ability to come in and actually talk to someone who can walk you through. If you're having trouble with something, we're there to help you walk through how to get to it, or at least connect you with someone who can walk you through it. So I think the physical thing is also because people, as much as we're out there in the ethers and doing our own thing online, we need a place where we can be together, even if we're being together apart, which is something, people will come to the library so they can say they're with people, but they're actually doing their own thing in the library. So it's your third space to be. So
yeah. We've been talking about very positive things. Negative, I would think parents sometimes will drop the kids off at the library. What happens when you have a child who's using the library who may be disruptive, maybe not acting as you would like them to, and the parent is nowhere to be found?
Well, we just deal with it the best that we can. We talk to the child. We try to get them to follow the rules as best they can. And, as I said earlier, public libraries are not the quiet spaces they were when I was a child. But we do try to be, hey, you have to use your inside voice. And, let's find something creative to do, or something that's a little more positive and a little less disruptive, and usually after a few minutes we can get them to either calm down or move on or do something. But it is a problem, but it's something that we deal with, and that's kind of just what we do. We deal with it and we move on.
Now, during the summers, do you still have reading clubs and reading books and all those kinds of things to encourage students to continue?
We do, and I like to call them summer learning opportunities and not so much summer reading, because they encompass reading, but we also do a lot of STEAM and STEM activities. So it's keeping those math skills up and keeping those engineering skills up and keeping those reading skills up, so when kids get back to school in September, they're ready to learn.
Wow. This has been a great show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. You did a great job, Janet. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And I'm with Janet Salazar, who's the Executive Director of Charles County Public Library. Also want to thank you for tuning in. and I hope you'll join me next week for another edition of Southern Maryland Perspectives. Until that time, I'm Brad Godfried, President of the College of Southern Maryland.